This is the letter that describes how I teach my Math 122 course. Every professor is different. This is how I am different. You can see that both Math 122 courses I teach this semester meet on Mondays and Wednesdays in SC 120. The times are for section 001 at 8 a.m., 004 is at 9:25 a.m. My name is Professor Chris Larson. I do not have an office because I am not a full-time faculty member. I am an associate member, which actually is to your advantage. If I were full-time faculty, I would have an office, and I would have office hours. And if you wanted to meet with me, you would have to meet me in that place at that time. However, since I am an associate, you can give me a call. It's my cell phone. I always have it with me. And we can pretty much meet anytime, anywhere. I have met people in town. I have met people on campus. I've gone to the Coffee Bean, even though I don't like coffee. I did have a smoothie, which was quite flavorful. But the point is, we can pretty much meet anytime, anywhere. So if you need to talk to me in person, we can set something up. Email. Yeah, my email address right there, and I don't have a web page. I always intend to get a web page, and I never get around to it. I'm not as computer literate as my parents think I am. Textbook, Mathematics in Action, custom 2nd edition for Arizona Western College. Homework, you will need to do homework. Success in the class is dependent upon dedication to the homework and class activities. I can teach you knowledge, information, concept, but you cannot develop a skill unless you do the skill, and that's what homework is for. The opportunity to do the skill. You have to do a skill a lot of times before you can really claim that skill as your own. Think of professional athletes in any sport, even if it's not really a sport, something like golf, which is just a game. Anybody who ever wants to be any good at all at any of those things always practices a lot. Math is no different. Or any academic subject is no different. You will need to do some homework. Grades. Points will be given for attendance, participation, homework quizzes on lecture day and review days. There will also be supplemental assignments as deemed necessary by the instructor. Tests, including the cumulative final exam and quizzes, will be administered as outlined on the tentative lecture schedule. That is tentative because I can't predict everything. Sometimes we need to go fast, sometimes we need to go slow, sometimes there's a power outage. There's all sorts of things that could interfere with our schedule. Any changes that need to be made to this schedule will be announced in class. If you listen to the syllabus discussion already, you know that it is your responsibility to attend class. If you do not attend class, you are still responsible for anything that occurred in class, which includes an announcement of a change in the schedule. If you did not attend the class and you do not know about the change in the schedule, you are still responsible for it. If you miss a class, make sure that you find out what happened in the class. That is your responsibility. Take care of that. Missed test will count as a 0. The final will replace the lowest test grade. So if you didn't do well on one test, you did well on another test, you take the final. I'll go back in the grading system and replace whatever the lowest test grade is with whatever you got on the final. Don't waste that on a missed test. There's only 2 tests in the semester. If you can't make both of those, you've got a bigger problem than just missing a test. Don't waste the replaced grade because you missed a test. Okay? Be there. You can see the breakdown: attendance, homework, participation, projects, homework, quizzes, tests, and the percentages for each. Your standard ABCD This is your class grade. I will then compare that to the grade you get on your final, and between the two of those, I'll come up with your course grade. And there's a chart at the end of the letter that describes how I'll do that. There are no makeups. This semester is going to go way too fast for us to be backing up to try to catch you up on something. If you miss something, the best thing to do is to move on. You'll be able to go back and see for yourself how you would have done. You can take the quizzes or the test by yourself on your own. I'll have the solutions made available. You can check them yourself. You can see how you would have done had you been there to do them. But going back is just going to hinder your movement forward. So there are no makeups. Cheating. As discussed in the syllabus, it's not to your advantage. It's wrong to begin with, so hopefully a sense of ethics would prevent you from cheating just because you shouldn't cheat. However, we can't always rely on ethics. So we also need to consider, is this to my advantage? And it's not. This class is not going to transfer. It's not going to be applied to any degree. The only reason to take this class is to be ready for the next class. If you cheat your way through this class, you're not going to be ready for the next class. You'll get a great grade in here, you'll get a miserable grade in the other. Take this class, take it honestly. If you fail this class, the worst case scenario, the most horrible thing that can happen, is you have to take it again. One way or the other, doing this class and doing it honestly is going to prepare you well for the next class. Cheating through this class will not. Okay? If you do choose to cheat, then at the very least, I will do a discipline referral form, and it will be put in your file, which doesn't mean anything in and of itself. But if the person putting that disciplinary referral form in your file notices that there's several other forms in the file from several other professors, then they might start doing something about it. Okay, so it's not going to end your academic career if you get caught cheating once in one class. If this becomes a habit, though, then we're going to have to deal with it. But again, it just doesn't make sense. Don't do that. Calculators. Calculators are allowed in the course. I don't recommend them. Going back to the sports analogy, if somebody else was doing the practice, then the player would never get good. If somebody else is doing your math, then you will never get good at math. Use calculators sparingly if you use them at all. Use them to double check your work, not to do the work in the first place. Use them to speed up your work in the event you're in a test situation or something along those lines. Do not use them wholesale. I don't understand why people are in my class pulling out their calculator to add small numbers. If that is difficult for you, then you need to do something besides take my class. Calculators should be used as a last resort in a math class. If you're in another class and it just happens to have some math component to it, then that's one thing. But in a math class where you're supposed to be learning math, you need to be doing the math. It's just simple logic. Okay? But they are allowed. Pretty much, I try to run the class so you won't need a calculator at all. If you do have a simple little calculator from the bank, that's going to do a few things for you. The TI, I think it's 32X, something like that, is an excellent calculator for this level of course. It's about $12, $13 at Target or Walmart or something like that. They have the solar-powered ones, so you don't have to worry about batteries, although batteries in a calculator tend to last for years anyway. Excellent calculator, fantastic calculator. However, in the next course that you take, regardless of whether it's 142, 151, or 187, you will need to have a graphing calculator, something along the lines of a TI-83 or a TI-84, and you can check the syllabus for that course. I believe it's listed in there which one is required. So if you wanted to get that now, even though it is significantly more expensive, just to get used to it, that would not be unreasonable. However, it will be much more calculated than is needed for this level of course. Attendance, like I said before, attendance is required. If you miss a class, the consequences are yours to deal with. If you are going to be late, as a courtesy to the other students, please try to be here on time, one. But if you can't be here on time, if you are going to be late, come into class quietly, with as little disturbance as possible, get into the class, and then tell me at the end of class. It used to be, when I was growing up, if you were late, you didn't go at all. But that posed more problems than it solved, because then we had to catch people up, and it was just a hassle. So now it's generally considered acceptable to come in late, as long as you're quiet and just get to your seat and go on about the business. Okay. Withdrawal policy. I do not recommend people to withdraw. If you withdraw, you have to take the class again. If you don't withdraw, then you have a chance of passing the class. If you don't, then you have to take the class again. So not withdrawing gives you a chance, withdrawing gives you no chance. That said, I do not know everybody's situation. Some people might be in an academic suspension issue or close to it. Some people might be in a financial aid issue. Who knows? If you are in a situation where you cannot afford an F or a low grade in the class, as it approaches the withdrawal deadline, which you can see in the document here is Thursday, November 3rd, as we approach that date, if you feel you cannot, you don't think you're going to get the grade that you need, then you need to go to the registrar and fill out a withdrawal form. It takes like 30 seconds. It's quick and easy, but you have to do it. I cannot do it. I cannot sign a form after the deadline. That is not our option anymore. If you are going to withdraw from the course, you need to do it before Thursday, November 3rd, 2011. But again, I recommend that you stick it out. Worst case scenario, if you stick it out and you don't get a passing grade of C or better, you're at least better off than you would have been if you had withdrawn earlier. I will say that in all the years I've taught, I've never had anybody get all the way through the school year, all the way through the semester and take the final that has gotten less than a D. I have had people that just didn't make it. They got Ds, but they got close. And so then all they needed to do was take it again and tie up some loose ends. But I've never had anyone actually flat out fail a course if they made it all the way through the semester and take the final. That's not to say it can't happen, but odds are slim, I would suspect, because it's never happened before. So if you can accept a D and you want to go for a C, then I suggest sticking it out. If you can accept a D, even though you know you won't get a C, but you want to be better off for the next time, then I suggest you stick it out. However, if you just absolutely cannot accept a low grade, then by November 3rd, you need to do a withdrawal form. All right.